Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am doing something that I'm not necessarily excited to do today. You're probably like, why? It's because I'm reading 5-star reviews of my 1-star books, my 1-star, 2-star, and 1 3-star book, but books that I quite obviously did not enjoy. You're probably like, why is this not something that makes you happy? Because I love that other people love these books, but I don't love these books, so I don't really want to talk about them, but to each their own. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to be reading 5-star reviews of my 1-star, 2-star, 3-star books, and I have 4 books that I'm going to be talking about today. One of them is definitely a bit controversial because everyone loves this book and I do not. But I have like 3 to 4 reviews for each book, and all of them are books that I own. I did not do books that because there is some books that I rated low that I do not have anymore, and I just decided not to include those. So we're only doing books that I still physically own. The first book that we are going to be reading 5-star reviews for is 1922 by Stephen King. I rated this book 3 stars originally, but now it's a 2.5, 2.75. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I will read you the back. It says, the year is 1922. Wilfred James owns 80 acres of farmland in Nebraska that have been in his family for generations. His wife, Arlette, owns an adjoining 100 acres. She wants to sell her land, but if she does, he will be forced to sell his as well. James will do anything to hold on to his farm, and his son is willing to assist. Together they commit a gruesome crime in order to keep the family homestead intact. Soon after, supernatural terrors begin to afflict father and son as well as their land. Is it just a coincidence or is something more disturbing at work? Betrayal, murder, madness, rats. 1922 is a breathtaking exploration into the dark side of human nature from the great American storyteller Stephen King. I would show you, but like, you can't really see. This entire shelf right here is full of Stephen King books. So obviously, I like Stephen King. This, however, was not a fan of. I just thought it was too long. It's 130 pages. That it was too long. I thought a lot of the things, like, it was very gruesome. Loved that. I loved the gruesome and how like detailed this was. But I just felt like sometimes like there was a lot of details in here that didn't need to be in here. There was just a lot in here that didn't need to be in here. That's it. Now we're going to read 5-star reviews. I think I have 4 for this book. The first one says, this was gross and gritty and disturbing. I loved it. This is a novella from Stephen King and it is very short, but it packs a punch in those 130 pages. This book can all be seen as a metaphor, and I love that. And also I'm terrified of rats now, even more than I was before. Okay, so I'll give it to this person. The book was very gross and very like gritty. Very much so. It was also very disturbing. So I'll give it to that. That is what Stephen King does. When I read a Stephen King book, that is what I expect. And I got that in this book. That was not one of my qualms with this book. It says that it is very short but packs a punch in those 130 pages. Personally, maybe it packed a punch for someone. For me, if it was a punch, it wasn't enough to make me budge or anything. It was just very boring. It was very boring. I didn't really care about anything that was happening in the book. Like, it was boring. So for me, personally, it didn't pack a punch. But I'm also terrified of rats. I was terrified of rats before, and I am still terrified of rats before. And this made it worse. Next review. I really enjoyed this. It wasn't at all what I was expecting, as it's more character driven rather than a ghost story, similar to Dolores Claiborne, as it's basically a long monologue by the central character. Very true. I think that if I enjoyed at least one of the characters in this book, I would have enjoyed this more. I would have rated it higher. I would have liked it. I didn't like not one of the characters. I didn't care about what was happening to the son. I didn't care about what was happening to his girlfriend. I didn't care about what was happening to the father. Like, I just didn't care. I didn't care what was going to happen to this land. I didn't care if anyone was going to get in trouble. Like I literally couldn't care less about what was happening to these characters. So because it wasn't like a ghost story and it wasn't really plot driven, there was really nothing for me to like grasp onto, nothing for me to be like, well, like, I don't like this, but this is happening. There was nothing for me to do that with. So yes, it is very character driven, and it is hard to like a book if you like literally none of the characters. So yeah. Next review. One of the first times I think Stephen King nailed an ending. I love the gross and disturbing details, giving me American Psycho vibes. I am a sucker for a good book/movie where the characters can't decipher facts from reality from their own paranoia. Stephen King also taught us many life lessons at the expense of Will's actions. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Okay. I was surprised by this one. Pleasantly, not so much, but I was surprised. I've never seen American Psycho, so I can't really confirm or deny that comparison. I've never seen it. The ending. Let's talk about the ending. I thought there could have been more done with the ending. This is a common thing that I have with a lot of thriller and horror books, is I think that an ending is kind of what solidifies my rating on a book, because if the ending is bad, or if I think it's boring, or I think it wasn't enough, I'm not going to rate the book as high as it could have been, because that's the last thing I remember about the book is the ending. And from this book, just wasn't for me. I think more could have been done, but I will, like, there was a lot of points in this book where our character does have trouble because of what he and his son did. There is a lot of times in this book where the character is having trouble deciphering, is this really happening or is this just in my brain? That I did enjoy, but yeah. This is the last review that I chose, and it says, no author can make me care about the fates of horrible characters the way Stephen King can, and I think I'm a little scared of rats now. I've always been scared of rats. It's never gonna change, and this book didn't help. But the way this person said, no author can make me care about the fates of horrible characters the way Stephen King can. Usually Stephen King's characters, I have this problem with Stephen King's characters and Frederick Backman's characters. No matter what they do, I always feel some type of remorse, some type of like, oh, but this, you know. And I didn't feel that with the characters in here, because I just think that what they did was just too much. I think what they did was too much for me to be like, but oh my gosh. So I had no sympathy, no care for what was happening to them. Yeah. So those are my thoughts about 1922 by Stephen King. I from what I've seen, this seems like a very loved novella, and that's great. I'm glad that people love this book. I guess I'm just not the target audience for this book, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not always going to be a target audience for books, and I'm definitely not for this one, and that is fine. I would not recommend it, but if you want to read it, by all means, do what you want. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and that's okay. The next book, I rated a 2.5. Or maybe, no, I think I just rated it a 2. It's The Club by Ellery Loy. Most of these books I talked about in my last video, because I was doing best books and worst books of 2024. So 3 out of 4 of these books were in that video. So if you want to know my exact reasons why I don't like these books, you can go to that video. And for the last book I'll show you, it was in a video in May, I want to say. So if you want to know thoughts about those, it was in 2 videos: reading booktuber's favorite books, and then my May wrap up, something like that. I'll tell you. The Club by Ellery Loy. It says, the home group is a glamorous collection of exclusive celebrity members clubs dotted across the globe. The most spectacular of all is Island Home, a closely guarded ultra-luxurious resort just off the English coast, and it's a 3-day launch and its 3-day launch party is easily the most coveted A-list invite of the decade. But behind the scenes, tensions are at a breaking point. The ambitious and expensive project has pushed the home group CEO and his long-suffering team to their absolute limits. All of them have something to hide, and that's before the beautiful people with their own ugly secrets even set foot on the island. As tempers fray and behavior worsens, as things get more sinister by the hour and the bodies pile up, some of Island Home's members will begin to wish they'd never been invited. Because at this club, if your name is on the list, you're not getting out. Like, come on. That synopsis, that blurb, it got me. Like, I saw that and I was like, yeah, I need that. Yeah. And then I read it and I was like, I should have left it on the shelf at the store. First review. Best book I've read all year. So surprising and different. Tons of twists and turns. I love the several points of view and timeline changes. Not the craziest thriller, just the perfect amount of suspense. Love, hate these characters. Perfection and absolute must read. A bunch of twists and turns. Too many, should I say. Because a lot of the twists and turns literally did nothing to progress the story. Like, you could have not put them in there and the story would have been the exact same. Also, way too many points of views. My thing is, I love a multiple point of view book. I love seeing multiple point of views. But 8 characters, that's a little excessive. We do not need that many point of views. We don't. Also, I do like a dual timeline or a multiple timeline, a timeline switch. I do. This book, I did like the timeline switch. It taught us more about characters. But the 8 point of views, it was a lot. It may not have been 8. I may be exaggerating. But there was a lot, and it was more than what was needed. Like, there didn't need to be that much. And because you get the point of view of every single person on this island. Why do I need to know the point of view of every single person on this island? Some of these people literally have no, like, they didn't add anything to the story. They didn't take away anything to the story. But I did not need to know their point of view. I did not need to know their reaction on what was happening. Because ultimately, they had nothing to do with the ending of the story. So, I would not say it's perfection and absolute must read. I wouldn't personally, because I didn't enjoy the book. But obviously someone who rated it 5 stars would say that. And this person said, not the craziest thriller, just the perfect amount of suspense. It's not the craziest thriller. And I wasn't suspenseful at all. Like, sometimes with certain thriller books, like, I need to read them in the light. Because I will, like, feel, like, chills. Not once. In fact, I read this in the pitch black dark. Didn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. So, there's that. Second review. Incredible. Twists and turns I never saw coming. Crazy plot and character development. This, from what you read, you would think the plot is crazy. And that's what I thought. And it was crazy. Because what was happening on this island was indeed crazy. But not crazy enough for me to like it. Okay, so I liked the plot of the book. I just think it could have been executed better. That's my thing. Twists and turns I never saw coming. I saw most of them coming. I did. There was like 1 or 2 that actually got me. And I was like, whoa, like what? But most of them I did see coming. Character development. I don't know what character development this person was saying. I personally saw 0 character development. Within all 2,500 characters, I saw 0. But maybe we're just interpreting things differently. Next review. Loved. The various perspectives made it a really interesting read and kept me engaged. Really recommend. I think the various perspectives really did the opposite for me. I think it turned me off of the book because I was just like, why do I need to know how every single person is feeling? Just give me the main characters and leave me with that. Like, that's enough. I don't need to know how this one person who has nothing to do with the book feels about what is happening. If they're not going to really make an impact on the story, there's no need to put them in the book. There's no need. Last review. Incredible. The story wasn't fantastic and left me on the edge of my seat. I liked the multiple viewpoints and the media coverage viewpoints. All the characters were flawed and anyone could have been the killer. I wasn't able to put it down. I was able to put it down. That's why it took me it didn't take me a very long time to read, but for it to be not that long, it took me a long time to read this book because I kept putting it down and did not have any desire to pick it back up. So there's that. All the characters were flawed and anyone could have been the killer. That's true. Not every single character, most of the characters had a reason to have committed this crime. All of them had a reason. And I did enjoy seeing that. Kind of like being able to like be like, oh, well, who did it? Because all of them, every single one of these characters, for the most part, had a reason. The story was fantastic and left me on the edge of my seat. Not me, but I'm glad it left you on the edge of your seat. I liked the media coverage. I love a mixed media. Like if there's text messages, if there's emails, if there's articles, I'm gonna eat it up. It's just how I am. I love a mixed media book, and this book did have that, so I did enjoy that. But like I said before, I did not enjoy the multiple viewpoints. Usually I do, if it's a respectable amount. This book had a disrespectful amount. So those are my thoughts on The Club by Ellery Loy. The next book is the lowest rated book of this video, Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. I gave this a 1.5, so I really did not enjoy it. I'll tell you what this is about. It says, Amanda and Clay head out to a remote corner of Long Island expecting a vacation, a quiet reprieve from life in New York City, quality time with their teenage son and daughter, and a taste of the good life in the luxurious home they've rented for the week. But with a late-night knock on the door, the spell is broken. Ruth and G.H., an older couple who claim to own the house, have arrived there in panic. These strangers say that a sudden blackout has swept New York, and with nowhere else to turn, they've come to the country in search of shelter. But with the TV and internet down and no cell phone service, the facts are unknowable. Should Amanda and Clay trust this intruding couple and vice versa? What has happened back in New York? Is a vacation home isolated from civilization truly a safe place for their families? And are they safe for one another? Suspenseful and provocative, Rumaan Alam's third novel is keenly attuned to the complexities of parenthood, race, and class. Leave the World Behind explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected new ones forged in the moment of crisis. This book does have a movie. I have not watched the movie. I didn't like the book, so I didn't like I was like, I didn't like the book. I don't think I'm gonna like the movie, and I'm probably not ever gonna watch the movie, and that's fine. Other people can like the movie and watch that on my behalf. This first quote, or this first review says, this is the first book in almost a year to hold my interest. It has awful Goodreads reviews. The writing and storytelling are non-traditional and apparently unappealing to the masses, and just so you know what you're getting into, the ending is abrupt and unfinished. However, I couldn't put it down, and I thoroughly enjoyed uncovering deeper themes throughout the process. Will this be the book that kicks me out of my reading slump? Fingers crossed. Honestly, when I was reading the book, the writing style is not something that bothered me. I wasn't reading this book and was like, oh no, I hate this because the writing style is weird. That literally had no problems at all with the way this was written. The ending is really, it was boring. It was boring to me. But what really stuck the nail in the coffin was the ending. The ending is abrupt and unfinished, and compared to what was happening in the book, made absolutely no sense at all. Like, how do you have all of this happening before and then that? it really just thinking about it, genuinely, why? You couldn't think of anything else. I'm sorry, I don't know. There was a lot of deeper themes in this book, like race and finance and social class definitely played a big role in this book. I do like a deeper book. I think that I do like a deeper book, and this book did, I think, talk about those themes in a good way. It's just that everything else was boring. And like, this is supposed to be like, it's marketed as a thriller, so I want to feel thrilled, and I didn't. So yeah, this book also took me a minute to read because I just didn't want to. Like, there was nothing like about this book that was making me be like, I need to read this. Like, I read this mostly at work because I made sure that this was the only book that I brought because I had nothing else to do. So this is when this was getting read, and it was just like boring. So yeah. Next review says, the slow burn to end all slow burns, one that left me shivering along with one of the major characters. Is this a slow burn? Usually. How is this a slow burn? I don't think it's a slow burn. I just thought it was boring. I'm gonna keep saying that. Like, how else? I thought it was uninteresting. There's a new word. Uninteresting. That's what I thought it was. And what they say? One that left me shivering along with one of the major characters. How could how could anything in this book have left you like shivering? I don't know, guys. I genuinely don't know. Last review. Found this book annoying at times, but the ending brought everything together perfectly. The ambiguous ending gave this book so much flavor. I messed with it really heavy, and even though the experimental writing got annoying, I found the writing quite useful for the story and what it was trying to examine. Like I said before, had no problems with the writing. Usually, with how a book is written, usually doesn't bother me. It doesn't mess with my brain. I could read any type of writing and be okay. So the writing had no impact on my rating. When they said the ending brought everything together perfectly, in what way? Like, I genuinely need somebody to explain that to me. How do you guys feel this ending brought this book together? I thought the ambiguous ending added nothing to the book. It made it worse. I don't know. I didn't think the book was annoying. Like, nothing in the book really annoyed me. Like I said, I was just uninterested, and the ending made me upset. It didn't make me think like, oh my gosh, that all makes sense. Or, oh my gosh, like, I may not have understood it, but it made this better. No. I read that ending, immediately closed my book, put it back on my shelf. I was like, I never want to see that book ever again. Because, like, it literally made no sense to me. And I mean, maybe I just don't get it. Like, maybe I'm not smart enough to read this book. And honestly, if that's the case, I take it. Like, I'll take it, because I'd rather be not smart enough and not like this book than it just be, like, stupid. Like, I'd rather just not be smart enough to understand this book. So, yeah. But I think I will read more of this author because the writing style was not bad. And I have heard good things about his other books. So maybe I'll try the author again. But if that second book doesn't do it for me, I think me and Ruman Alam are going to go our separate ways. Now, the very, very last book is a romance book. Crazy, I know. I gave this book a 3-star. This book is very, very popular. Everyone loves this book. I am not one of those people, but I do know of a bunch of people that love this book. And that book is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Do not, I repeat, if you love this book, do not come in my comments bashing. You can be like, oh, well, I love this book because this, and this. Reading is subjective. You can tell me why you love the book. I could listen. Like, this video is literally me reading 5-star reviews and trying to see why people love this book. What I will not do is sit there and look at comments of people bashing because I don't like a book. Reading is subjective. I'm gonna like books that you hate. You're gonna like books that I hate, and that's fine. Leave it at that. Magnolia Parks by Jessica Hastings. This is what it says on the back. How many loves do you get in a lifetime? Magnolia Parks is a beautiful, affluent, self-involved, and mildly neurotic London socialite. BJ Ballantyne is Britain's most notorious and photographed bad boy who broke her heart, but these two are meant to be, and everyone knows it. Magnolia and BJ are written in the stars, just suspended in a strange kind of love that looks like hurting each other a lot of the time. She dates other people to keep him at bay. He sleeps with other girls to get back at her for it. But at the end of their every sad endeavor to get over one another, it's still each other they crawl back to. Finally, after years of this, their dysfunction is catching up with them, pulling at their seams and fraying the world they've built. But they're not ready to let go. Not yet, at least. As the cracks start to show and secrets begin to surface, Magnolia and BJ are forced to face the formidable question they've been avoiding all their lives. How many loves do you really get in a lifetime? Like that, the description is so beautifully written. This book is so beautifully written. I wish I loved it. I wish I liked it, but I just don't. I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know what it is. I'm going to tell you after I read these. First one, the ending. Hello, this was toxic and Magnolia BJ need therapy urgently because their dynamic is alarming. Still ate it up though. We had the same thoughts on this book. I thought that they were toxic and that they needed therapy and that their dynamic was alarming. And I don't say that they need therapy in a bad way. Everyone needs therapy, let's be honest. Everyone does. But they for sure needed some therapy because the way that they are like clinging on to each other when this is obviously not a good situation for them to be in is crazy. It was very alarming, very concerning. So, yeah, and that's why I didn't eat this book up. Left that entire plate on the table because I just couldn't do it. I genuinely could not. Crying, screaming, throwing up. They put me through everything. I hated BJ at first, but now he's my fave. Magnolia made me mad more than anyone. I went from DNFing this book to being obsessed with it. But at the bottom, it says DNF at 36%. This was the first time that they read it. Not in the mood for immature and spoiled adults. This couple makes me want to pull my hair out. That's how I felt. Because first of all, I think they're supposed to be like 20. Like, mind you, that's still young. It's still young. But you are old enough to not be acting like this. These people are 20 years old acting like they're like 15. Please get it together because you're embarrassing yourself. Let's get it together. Magnolia, BJ, please. Let's figure it out and let's grow up a little bit. I also did not like, I didn't like either of them. I didn't like anyone in this book at first. No one. But towards the end, I can tolerate BJ now. I can tolerate him. Do not like Magnolia though, and I don't think that's ever gonna change. So there's that. So yeah, and I did not DNF this book, but I don't think I could ever reread this book and end up becoming obsessed with it. I just don't think that's in the cards for me. So yeah. Next one. I really don't know what Jessa put in this, but I'm obsessed. Such a frustrating storyline, but at the same time, easily one of my all-time favorite reads. Never been so invested in a story before, never been so emotional like I was while reading these pages. I wish I could tattoo all these wonderful quotes all over my body. An absolute outstanding and thrilling book, to say the least. I will say, this book is so beautifully written. Jessa Hastings' writing style and the way that she writes is beautiful. And I wish that I liked this book because there's so many good quotes in this book. There's so many good quotes in this book. And if I liked it and I liked the characters that was saying it, I would tattoo it on my body. I would do it. But I don't like the book. I don't like the book. I don't like the people who said these quotes. I don't like them. I just, like, I can't in good conscience put a quote on my body from a book that I did not like. So there's that. But I will give it to Jessa. The book is beautifully written. It truly is. Very frustrating. I was frustrated this entire time. I vlogged reading this, and y'all saw how frustrated I was not having the time of my life. Not at all. Not at all. Never been so invested in a story before. Never been so emotional like I was reading these pages. I was emotional, but the emotion that I was feeling was anger. I was angry. I was annoyed. I was not confused, because I understand why they act the way that they act. Does that mean I have to like it? No. I can understand why someone does something. That doesn't mean that I need to then root for the couple, or I need to then be okay with what they're doing. I can understand why someone is doing something without liking what they're doing. That's why I feel about them. I understand why they're so connected to each other, why they feel these ways about each other. I understand. That is not the problem. The problem is that what they are doing is not okay. What they're doing to each other is not okay. The way they're acting towards other people are not okay. Because at this point, it's not just about them. It is not just about them, because this cycle that they are in is in turn hurting other people. It is hurting their friends. It is hurting their family. It is hurting these innocent people. Like, it's not okay. So I understand why they act this way, but I do not support it. I support women's rights and I support women's wrongs, but I do not support Magnolia. That's how we're ending it here. But yeah, that was me. I only chose 4 books for this video. I know in my reading 1-star reviews in my 5-star books, I had so many more books, but it's just like the fact is, I really don't rate books super lowly. Even if I really don't like a book. Like, this was a 3-star, and I have a lot of 3-star books, but even when I was looking at them, I was like, I don't feel strongly enough to, like, kind of disagree with a lot of these, like, with a lot of what people are saying. Like, I don't dislike the book enough to put them in this video. So I chose the 4 that I do dislike enough, and had enough problems with to put in this video. I will say, if you guys want to read these books, or are interested in these books, by all means, read them. You may love them. Like I said, reading is subjective. People love the books I hate. I hate books that people love. That's just how it works. So I'm not turning you off to reading these books. I'm just saying, if your reading taste is anything like mine, and if you have trouble reading things like that have the problems like what I just said, then by all means, I don't think you should. Then I don't think you should read these books. But if you want to give it a try, do that. You may feel completely differently about these books. So yeah, if you guys have read any of these books, put them in the comments. Like, tell me how you feel about these books. If you love these books, tell me how you, like, tell me why. If you also didn't like these books, tell me why. But yeah, if this is your guys' first time seeing me, this is probably makes me look like a mean person. I'm not mean. These are literally some of the, like, I do not rate books very lowly, and I do not talk about books very like harsh like this. This is not normal for me, but these books just bring that out of me. So hopefully I don't scare you guys away, and hopefully you guys stay for more videos. So yes, that is the end of this video, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.